Minister Muloni, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a great pleasure to have you with us in London. As mentioned, I just wanted to take some time just to ask you a few questions about the upcoming Uganda International Oil and Gas Summit, which is happening at the Serena Hotel in Kampala from the 25th to the 26th of September. As you know, this is led by yourself, which we're very much looking forward to, and you'll be joined by the Minister of Energy for Tanzania, South Sudan and Kenya, which is of course very exciting. The first question I wanted to ask is, what would you say to potential investors that are looking at coming to Uganda that are interested specifically in oil and gas?
They are most welcome. We are ready for them. We are ready for business. The environment in Uganda for investment into the energy sector, oil and gas in particular, is set. We already have 5 now international companies. 2 are doing exploration and 3 are preparing for production. We announced in May a second bidding round, and so we want more to come and join us while we prepare to go into production for those who have been with us. And it will be good to update them on where the movement of the various projects are, the development on the pipeline, the developments on the refinery, the developments on preparations for production. Each of those areas, there is work that is going on. I know many may be saying, but we heard that Total has pulled out. Total has not pulled out. None of the oil companies has pulled out. Each of them is having their licenses and they are working towards fulfilling the conditions in those licenses. What didn't work out was a sale of shares by Tullow Oil to Total and Zino, which transaction did not materialize by the time their sales and purchase agreement expired, which was end of August. But Tullow has announced that it's going to go through that process again. The issue of contention, which did not make them have the matter closed at the appropriate time, was the issue to do with taxes. Taxation because of the capital gains tax. When you sell your asset shares, there is always a capital gains tax where they needed now to agree with the government so that the matter is resolved. And all I can assure the international public and the investors is that that matter is going to be resolved, and we are still moving on with the preparations for production. We are moving on with the preparations for attracting more investors into the sector.
Very good. Of course, everybody's very aware of the delay on FID, the final investment decision. But how would you say we need to get across that line? What do you feel is needed for us to get across that line, and what sort of timeline do you expect?
We are very close. We were all working towards before this year end to have the FID made, because in the licenses for production we laid out the field development plans, the obligations of government in preparing infrastructure to support production, and as government we've gone towards 90% of the work that we are doing. We are now at the tail end of agreeing on the host government agreement, because we've already entered into the intergovernmental agreement for the pipeline. So the host government agreements between the investors and the governments of Uganda and Tanzania separately, shareholders agreements for the crude export pipeline. Those are the few areas that are now remaining for resolving, so that once those agreements are signed, we should really be getting there. And we also expect that the oil companies should be able to, by this time, to take their final investment decision. We know the setback for Tullow, because it was looking at sale of its shares as one way of mobilizing resources to invest into the midstream, as it were. So if that hasn't materialized and they are getting back on board, we think this should really work out quickly, because the issues of contention have been discussed to a great extent, and I think a resolution can be made very, very soon once they put it back onto the table. Meanwhile, Sinop and Total, we expect them to really take their final investment decisions, because that is the commitment they made when they were applying for a production license, and the production license clearly stipulates the obligations of each party. So, and I've not received any communication from any of the companies saying I'm pulling out. So, what the media is hearing, that they've scaled down on their work and so on and so forth, I think the companies themselves should get out there and tell the public what is it that they are doing, so that the public gets to know. But in as far as I'm concerned, none of the companies has communicated saying they are pulling out. No, they are committed, they are licensed, and they have an obligation to make sure that things work. So there is a delay, yes, but I'm sure it's going to be resolved shortly.
So fair to say that we're in a very good position, and we're now starting to move past what was the most difficult part of that particular juncture, but now we're moving towards the tail end of the decision and getting things moving.
Yes, of course, now the agreements I was telling you about, that we've done the biggest part of it. We've agreed on most of the issues. What is now remaining are a few areas in the host government agreement, and of course one of the areas that they were now looking at, first of all, the volumes for the refinery was agreed upon, the tariff for the pipeline was agreed upon, areas of incorporation, areas of taxes, those were now the areas of just finalizing, and everything should be able to move. But then of course the shareholders agreement. Once that is done, the host government agreement should be as good as ready to go. And we would also expect that meanwhile they've been sounding out or looking for the areas or the financials who are bringing on board money to invest into the pipeline. So I'm still very, very, I'm sure that the matter of Talos selling its shares and the taxes related to it is going to be resolved shortly, and that should be able to enable these companies to move on.
And of course we'll be seeing them at the conference as well, so obviously Total and CNOOC as a JV company is sponsoring and speaking at the event, so there'll obviously be more news to cover there.
Yeah.
Just sticking around the FID, because obviously that's one of the kind of key points. There's an awful lot of projects that are happening in Uganda at the moment that are of key interest. Do you feel that the FID has any way impacted on those? So, for instance, the second licensing round? Or
no, not at all. We are continuing. We're actually now preparing for the road shows. We'll go to UAE. We shall have a road show there. We're going to have a road show in UK. We're going to have a road show in the US. And by November, we want to have finalized this information so that the request for proposals can now be submitted so that we're able to process. So we are progressing with the second bidding round. The refinery investor is also, we approved the final configuration as government. We are happy with the configuration that they have come up with. They are now progressing with the front-end engineering designs according to plan, and of course all of this is going on. So we know on the refinery front things are moving. We know on the pipeline front things should have moved faster, and I'm confident the companies will make their FID.
Just to move on to the second licensing round, which is obviously a new exciting development that's happening in Uganda. And could you tell us a little bit more about what's on offer on the second licensing round, and see what the international should look to expect?
We have 5 new blocks which are they are for bidding. They are different, but still in the Albertine Rabel, and We have the information, the package information is available. Anyone who is interested in putting in the bid can get the different information on the 5 blocks and be able to follow the process. With this road shows that we're going to carry out, we'll be able to engage with them and also ensure that they get the data rooms so that they're able to get more information. And even at this summit, we should be able to engage more with them so that they get more information and make a choice on what block they want to. But as I said, in the Albert Einstein Graben, the rate of the success rate of finding oil is very high at 85%, and with the cost of finding oil world class, less than $1 per barrel. So I definitely welcome investors to make a choice to investing their money in our country. They are guaranteed of double-digit returns.
Very good. And of course we'll be featuring the data room at the show as well, which your ministry has been very kind in helping us with. So again, we'll look forward to showcasing a lot more on the licensing rounds. Last question, because I know you're obviously keen to for us to let you go, as we might change a little bit. But last question. The Uganda International Oil and Gas Summit, again, it's happening next week from the 25th to the 26th. We've got the Tanzanian Ministry coming along, Ministry of Energy, the South Sudan Ministry of Energy, of course now the Kenya Ministry of Energy as well. But tell me, why is this summit of such importance to the Ugandan government, and what do you feel that the global oil and gas community can gain from this?
Well, it is important because there's so much that is happening. There are very many opportunities. The fact that we are preparing for production, so the opportunities across the value chain, right from exploration, upstream, midstream, downstream, opportunities are there. And the fact that associated with those opportunities, because we are going to construct an East African crude oil pipeline, the stakes and the interests of the partner states is really high. The refinery that we are going to construct is also, the partner states have stakes in them. So this makes it very attractive for us to come together as East Africa partner states, for us as a country to update them on what is actually happening on the value chain. Tanzania is very keen because the pipeline is a project that is crossing our country. The neighbors, South Sudan and Kenya, also have petroleum reserves. There's a lot, Eastern DRC, there's a lot for us to compare notes with and see how we can put our efforts together to make sure that we develop these projects that are going to serve us as East African community together. So I warmly welcome the international community, the investors to come to Uganda, and my colleagues in the neighboring countries. It will be a pleasure receiving them and us engaging with the private sector to see how we can harness this resource within our area in the best way possible, to see how we networking private, public, and the investment needs into the sector can be dealt with. And I think it will be a good opportunity for networking, for those who are looking for business and for those who have business, meeting so that deals can be made.
Right, that's why we do these things. Mr. Muloni, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure to spend some time with you, and we very much look forward to seeing you in Canada.
Welcome, and look forward to seeing you.
Thank you.